Hello, I'm the Progressive Disciple. I'm taking a journey through the Bible, and I'm inviting you to join me. Today, we are covering the book of Jonah. Jonah was a prophet in Israel in the 8th century BC. This was in the time when King Jeroboam II was king. God asked Jonah to go to Nineveh and preach against that great city. In Jonah chapter 1, verse 3, it says, "But Jonah ran away from the Lord and headed for Tarshish. He went down to Joppa, where he found a ship bound for that port. After paying the fare, he went aboard and sailed for Tarshish to flee the Lord." There are times when I want to run away from the Lord, particularly when I'm asked to do something that I'm not sure I really want to do. A lot of times the Holy Spirit keeps nagging at me. Then again, there are times when you should say no, or you will experience burnout. I find on one hand, you can't run away from the Lord. He's always there, and He always cares about us. But on the other hand, perhaps you can run away from the Lord. If you keep telling God no, eventually He will go along with your wishes and will leave you alone. The ship that Jonah was sailing encountered a huge storm, which threatened to sink the ship. In Jonah chapter 1, verses 11 and 12, it says, "The sea was getting rougher and rougher, so they asked him, 'What should we do to make the sea calm down for us?' 'Pick me up and throw me into the sea,' he replied, 'and it will become calm. I know that it is my fault that this great storm has come upon you.'" This raises a question for me. How do I take responsibility for the mistakes that I have committed? It takes a lot of courage to admit when you have done wrong. I know there are many times when I had to admit that I have done wrong, particularly in my marriage when I have lost my temper. The sailors tried to get back to shore, but it became evident that they were not going to succeed, so they eventually threw Jonah overboard. And then Jonah was swallowed by a whale. Now, I know the Bible really says a huge fish, but I'm calling it a whale anyway. Hello, this is the post-production Progressive Disciple here. While I was editing this video, I realized I'd forgotten something rather important. In the last verse of the first chapter of Jonah, it said that Jonah was inside the whale for 3 days and 3 nights. This is very important for us Christians because in Matthew chapter 12, verse 40, Jesus says that He would perform the same miracle, that He would be in the earth for 3 days and 3 nights, just as Jonah was in the whale. From inside the whale, Jonah made a prayer to God. In Jonah chapters 2, verses 2 through 4, it says, "He said, 'In my distress I called to the Lord, and He answered me. From deep in the realm of the dead I called for help, and you listened to my cry. You hurled me into the depth, into the very heart of the seas, and the current swirled around me. All your waves and breakers swept over me. I said, I have been banished from your sight. Yet I will look again toward your holy temple.' This spoke to me because I think that even in our darkest hour, we can turn to God. Sometimes it takes the darkest times for us to actually make a link with God. Now, I have not had a hit bottom story myself, but sometimes that's the only way for people to change their behavior. The whale spat Jonah out onto dry land, and Jonah then went up to Nineveh to preach against the city. In Jonah chapter 3, verses 6 through 8, it says, "When Jonah's warning reached the king of Nineveh, he rose from his throne, took off his royal robes, covered himself with sackcloth, and sat down in the dust. This is the proclamation he issued in Nineveh. By the decree of the king and his nobles, do not let people or animals, herds or flocks, taste anything. Do not let them eat or drink, but let people and animals be covered with sackcloth. Let everyone call urgently on God. Let them give up their evil ways and their violence." This spoke to me because the people of Nineveh humbled themselves before God and asked his forgiveness, and God responded to Nineveh by sparing it. This means that I can change my ways, and God will forgive me. Jonah was upset by this, and he sat and sulked. A plant grew and gave Jonah shade, and this improved Jonah's mood. But then a worm came the next day and attacked the root of the plant, killing it. In Jonah chapter 4, verses 9 through 11, it says, "But God said to Jonah, 'Is it right for you to be angry about the plant?' 'It is,' he said, 'and I am so angry I wish I were dead.' But the Lord said, 'You have been concerned about this plant, though you did not tend it or make it grow. It sprang up overnight and died overnight. And should I not have concern for the great city of Nineveh, in which there are more than 120,000 people who cannot tell their right hand from their left, and also many animals?' I feel a lot like Jonah at times. As I had said in previous videos, we are being inundated by cicadas. They fly in my face, they land on me, they buzz. They've infested our backyard and they stink. I found that me and my wife cannot use our back patio anymore. I just want them gone. I want them gone now. But when I think about it, I am truly blessed. I have a nice air-conditioned house where I can actually go and escape the cicadas. We often will allow first world problems to ruin our days, when if we took a look at the big picture and counted our blessings, we would know just how much God has given us. Jonah had lost face in prophesying against Nineveh. He predicted that the city was going to be destroyed, and the city was not. And yet, Jonah's mission succeeded. The people of Nineveh repented and turned from their evil ways. Sometimes we need to take a step back and look at the big picture. So, this is my take on the book of Jonah, which means it's time for another lottery. So let me go ahead and get these tickets out, and we will see the next book that we will study. Okay. And let's see the next book. Okay, I got a ticket. And the next book that we will study will be the first book of Kings. There are 22 chapters in this, so this will take several videos to do. So I ask that you like and subscribe to my videos. Also, let me know what you think in the comments. Have you turned away from God? Have you taken responsibility for mistakes that you have made? Do you have a hitting rock bottom story that you are willing to share? How have you been encouraged to change your ways? And what are the blessings in your life? And do they overshadow the problems that you have? I am the Progressive Disciple, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.